Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Super Bowl weekend.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
It's that time of the year again, Super Bowl 56. It always goes by so quickly. This is actually going to be a strange Super Bowl, the lowest seeded Super Bowl in NFL history. I think both teams came in at around like a seed 4. There has been no Super Bowl without a seed 3 through 1. In NFL history, so technically on paper this is statistically the worst Super Bowl that's ever going to happen. However, I'm a little excited about seeing Joe Cool and the Bengals get their shot. Matt Stafford being a veteran that you and me, Rob, have always talked about as having one of the best arms in the NFL, albeit on one of the worst teams for a long time. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's get started though with your thoughts on Kansas City and Cincinnati this past week. We saw Mahomes lose in 13 seconds in overtime after winning in 13 seconds against the Bills the previous week. What are your thoughts on some of the things that happened in that game?
Well, I think it really boils down to what we were talking about and everybody else was talking about, and that was that field goal they could have attempted in the second quarter with, 4 or 5 seconds left. That looked to be the downfall for Kansas City. A complete choke job in the second half. As you had said, Joe Cool, Mr. Burrow himself, just came storming back with the Bengals and won the game. I thought it was an amazing second half of football.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally in agreement with you there. We were texting about that. I thought that was the craziest thing, that they decided to not just take that 3 points. When you're up by 11 like that, and you can extend the lead to 2 touchdowns with extra points, instead of what they were doing, just going all out for the touchdown to try and make a point, that, cowboy shit. What's the point of being up by 17 points as opposed to 14 if the alternative is you're only up by 11? You did say, this is going to be the thing that comes back to haunt them. I was joking with you and Stephanie. It's like, they'll probably won't lose, but I'm going to fucking mock them if they do for that play alone. I'm kind of tired of seeing teams and coaches do this. Sean McDermott did it a lot with the Bills, and this is a downfall. You got to play smart football. Take those points where they matter. Don't try to get too cute. It's unfortunate because, Patrick Mahomes actually wound up with a higher quarterback rating over the course of that game than Joe Burrow did. I mean, Mahomes had more yards, he had 3 touchdowns, but what killed him was how we just didn't see him as Mahomes at the end of that game. He almost throws a pick once, and then he does throw a pick 13 seconds into overtime to just close out that game. My question to you right now is, you know how big of a Mahomes fan I am ever since, guys like Peyton Manning left the league. This is my boy right now as far as just the excitement of football quarterbacking. Are there too many elite QBs right now for Mahomes to be considered undisputed top dog? Is he going to be competing with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen for years to come? Or even Justin Herbert? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see the old regime go out with the Brees, the Roethlisbergers, the Bradys. They're all starting to get phased out, and now we're seeing this new crop of young, elite quarterbacks, and it's a lot of fun to watch. One that comes to mind that we've talked about a bunch, Kyler Murray, who kind of had a down season. We might be talking about him making a jump next year, depending on where he ends up, if it's not Arizona and whatnot. But Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, and now we're talking Joe Burrow. There's for me, and statistically speaking, look at what Matt Stafford did this year with over 40 touchdowns thrown. Mm-hmm. I mean, we see a lot in Aaron Rodgers, of course. We talk about him all the time. Not so much Jimmy G, as we know, but there's a lot of really great quarterbacks in the NFL. And to be honest, if you ask me who's the number one, I would have a really hard time naming that one person.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that just goes to show you, let's talk about the next game. From last week, San Francisco and Los Angeles. Now you brought up Stafford. Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of the odd man out in that series. You had Joe Burrow, who looked great in his rookie season before getting injured. He looked great this year. He came from a national championship. You have Patrick Mahomes, who's been to the Super Bowl multiple times and has a ring. He's an MVP. Matt Stafford, second year throwing 40-plus touchdowns. He's got a cannon arm. We've always known it. Jimmy Garoppolo is the odd man out. 16 of 30. 232 yards. He had 2 TDs and threw a pick, a very costly pick, in that fourth quarter collapse after they were leading on the Rams. I don't see at this point how he even becomes a starting quarterback in the near future of the NFL. Look at the talent that he spread around on that in that game, with George Kittle getting a touchdown. Deebo Samuel was pretty much unguardable as usual. Didn't do as great in the running game. Brandon Ayuk had a 70-yard game. They really had no excuses. Is Garoppolo somebody that's just going to, kind of fade into obscurity after this?
I think San Fran's going to find some dim-witted buyer for Jimmy G. And the team that I'm thinking the most of is John Elway and the Denver Broncos. They always tend to freaking hype up these guys like the Drew Locks of the world, and I can see it like he's a proven winner. Brock Osweiler. He's won a Super Bowl. Let's get the Italian sedan to park his POS outside Denver, the Mile High City. I think Jimmy G will be with Denver. I think his days with San Francisco are clearly over.
Yeah, and I love what Matt Stafford was able to do in that game. Just a high completion percentage, throws for almost 350 yards. He did throw a pick too, but Stafford just looked like he was completely poised through the rest of that fourth quarter. And it's, hats off to them. We thought they were going to win. It was a little bit of a nail-biter, but that's the exact outcome that should have happened. We didn't think San Francisco was going anywhere, and they shouldn't, not with that quarterback, the Italian scallion, because he stinks. Real quick, let's talk about real-time sports, daily fantasy. This week, instead of having your standard lineup that you could set with a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, flex in the defense, they're going to be running a format where you take a quote-unquote MVP as a player that has a 1.5 point multiplier at a higher salary of your 50K cap, and then you're going to choose 5 flexes of any position, including kickers this time, which they normally don't let you do. So, for example, I'm going to roll with a couple lineups here. One of them that I picked out is I'm going to take Cam Akers as my MVP for the point multiplier, because I get him at $9,600 as an MVP. Tyler Boyd, I'm going to throw in there at $5,400 as a first flex. I'm going to take Joe Burrow, Tyler Higbee on the Rams, T. Higgins, and Cooper Kupp at $11,600. Cooper Kupp is about $17,000 when you take him at MVP. I've also got some other ones I'm kind of messing around with just to see what happens. But, I might even suggest doing things like taking the kicker, Evan McPherson, at a little bit of a higher salary as a kicker at $6,000. So he can get you maybe say he gets 3 field goals, they'll multiply that a little bit, you'll get some extra points from the kicker, and then you could probably still roster Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford on your lineup and see, how many points you could accrue. Obviously, in these situations, it's PPR, so you just kind of have to pick that one target that's going to be real volume heavy. But it's going to be a fun format. Rob, if it was up to you right now, who would you be taking as your point multiplier MVP out of all the players that are going to be in this Super Bowl?
I really love your take on Cam Akers. I love that dude. Man crush on the old Akers, man. I think it's a nice, sneaky little pick, and then the other guy I could possibly think about is anybody opposite Jamar Chase, because of the fact that Jamar Chase will be guarded by Jalen Ramsey. So, a T. Higgins, I think, could be interesting. A Tyler Boyd, like you said, or maybe the Bengals go heavy run game and they're doing a Joe Mixon type. I don't know, but I really do like the idea of Cam Akers because I just think he's a big playmaker.
Yeah, and obviously you get great value for him based off of the point multiplier you're going to get back. And of course, it's real easy to say, it's like, well, you got to take Cooper Kupp, but you're throwing an extra $6,000 of your 50K cap away on something like that. So I'm right there with you. Maybe you take these sneakier players this week. I think Higbee's going to be a great play. Stafford's probably going to be looking to him over and over in this game. I think it's going to be a little easier to get the ball to Higbee when they're worried about covering Cooper Kupp, who we've seen time and time again sneak in those plays that he shouldn't be making in playoff season. So everybody out there, go check out Real Time Fantasy Sports. You can deposit money and play for money on Daily Fantasy. You can do it for free. There's a bunch of free leagues, but it's real fun this week with the MVP, point multiplier, and the 5 flexes. Going into our next segment here, we're going to play a little game that Rob made up. We're just going to do one word. So we're going to bring up a quick topic, and then we're going to get Rob's one word and my one word to sum up our thoughts on that topic. So let's get started with the first topic. Jags signing Doug Peterson.
Love It's almost Valentine's Day, and I love this hire for the Jaguars, period. That's all I've got for it.
You know, for me, I'm going to say playoffs. And I do think this. I think that we could potentially have a winning season with this kind of coach at the helm. You know that I was pretty big on maybe getting Caldwell, who usually has those ghost eyes during those plays. But I think he's got a good track record in the NFL with a bad team. We were, really hoping we weren't going to go after someone like Bill O'Brien. So at this point, I'm happy with the Doug Peterson signing. Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay and getting a home in Nashville. What's your thought?
Pittsburgh. We have it on record. I think he's going to end up in Pittsburgh. There's articles already being said that Green Bay is hopeful that he's coming back. I do not believe it to be true. If he does it, great. If not, I think Pittsburgh is his next destination.
My one word is going to be ungrateful. Aaron Rodgers is an egotistical little fuck. I'm starting to dislike him more and more as I see him go on the Pat McAfee show, which is a little bit of a contradiction to what's been happening with a lot of the crowd base. They seem to like Aaron Rodgers. This has nothing to do with his vaccination stuff. I don't really honestly care about that. But when it comes to football, I see him being an ungrateful teammate, a disloyal teammate. He's only there to serve himself and the other players that he deems worthy of serving. Anybody who's propping up his stats, that's who gets the love. Anyone else he throws under the bus, and he'll throw Green Bay under the bus regardless of the fact that he's the one losing these games with all that talent on his side. Next topic, Ben Roethlisberger retiring.
Rodgers. I'm going to push this a little further. I believe with him retiring, which, by the way, adios, Ben. It's been fun. I've always liked Ben Roethlisberger, so little tear shed for his departure, but we knew it was inevitable. I believe Aaron Rodgers is the next man up. You see what I did there?
My word's going to be expected. Ben Roethlisberger dealing with injuries for a while, and that hilarious interview he gave before the Chiefs game where he was basically admitting defeat before it happened. Talk about a leaderless fucking team right there. I think he knew that he just didn't have it in him, and this was his last curtain call. And, obviously, Ben Roethlisberger, it's been fun to watch you over the years. Just stay out of the women's bathroom. Next topic, Alvin Kamara getting arrested.
Shambles. New Orleans is in shambles. This team is a catastrophe. I think it's going to be a catastrophe for a long time. In my honest-to-goodness opinion, I think Kamara was the last man standing for this organization. It all started with Thomas signing that ridiculous contract and then just disappearing. Drew Brees saw it a mile away, said goodbye. Sean Payton leaving, see you later. And now Alvin Kamara making a huge mistake. Shambles.
My words.
Have fun with Jameis Winston next year.
Yeah, that's right. My word's going to be lulz. LOLZ. This is hilarious to me. I think at this point they might as well make it a signing contract stipulation that any running back that's going onto a team needs to have at least one assault charge in their repertoire, their resume, if you will. We're talking about Joe Mixon clipping people, Ray Rice clipping people, Kareem Hunt's knocking out women left and right. The only thing that Alvin Kamara has going for him in this situation is that he beat up a guy and not a girl. So that's a nice change of pace right there, but absolutely hilarious. We'll see how this plays out. Probably nothing's going to happen to him. Next topic, Byron Leftwich not having a head coach job. What's your thought, Rob?
Uninspiring. And the reason I use that word is because this guy, once again, had Tom Brady as his quarterback. He did nothing with Jameis Winston when Winston was there. Uninspiring. And to kind of circle back to the Doug Peterson thing in Jacksonville, I am so thankful, if anything, from Khan, is he didn't listen to what the crowd wanted this time and just decided to kind of go his own route and get an NFL-ready coach.
My word's going to be soon. Leftwich is more than capable. We know that he's got his ins and outs with the multiple staff members over the years. He's well connected in the NFL. He's well respected. Again, probably not on Kellen Moore's level or anything like that. And to your point, you can't really look too much into his accomplishments with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Byron Leftwich has nothing to teach him, but I do think that with the current landscape of NFL head coaches, Leftwich probably lands a job. There's no reason for him not to, and it's going to be a great PR move for any NFL team that does it, given the sentiment revolving around minority coaches in the NFL, which again, I couldn't care less about. I see him getting hired somewhere. Kyler Murray deleting all social media content in regards to Arizona. What's your thought?
Okay. I mean, that's essentially the way I look at it. Where this is coming from, I don't know. I know we were talking about this earlier. What is going on in Arizona is just kind of baffling me a little bit. I know we were talking about a little something about a connection with Mike Evans you had brought up. Maybe you could make me understand this a little more, but I'm going okay, 2 letters.
I'm going to say clickbait. And the reason why is we've seen this happen a million times before. Odell scrubbing the Giants' social media, and then whatever happens with that happens. We've seen Russell Wilson scrub the Seahawks from social media, yet he's still there. So we just don't know at the moment. It's just great news clippings for the Twitter crowd. But like you were saying, what I brought up is that the rumbling here is that Kyler has deleted all mention of the Arizona Cardinals, except he left some kind of Instagram or Twitter post of Mike Evans saying that he would love to catch balls from Kyler Murray, a generational talent. And with Tom Brady leaving the Buccaneers, allegedly, we are in a situation where it's quite possible if Kyler is not happy in Arizona, maybe he switches over to Tampa Bay. Who knows? But I'm going to say for now, clickbait. Brian Flores situation. What's your one word on this?
Okay, I'm going to go from a 2-letter word to a 3-letter word. And that 3-letter word is old. This has gotten old. I don't know what this guy is trying to prove here. I understand there's not enough minority coaches or whatnot. I can't recall how many Italian coaches I've seen, but hey, I'll keep that to myself.
My one word is going to be racism. And how fucking dare you, Rob? You know Vic Fangio was head coach. How dare you be a racist and belittle my Italian people. But Brian Flores, you are a moron, dude. Like, if you had just kept your mouth shut, you would have some coaching job before the end of the year. What do you think? You deserve a head coach job somewhere else? Like, you didn't do that great with the Dolphins. So completely out of line for anybody to say he's an elite coach who has all of the trimmings that would make him worthy to take on any head coaching job he wants. It's absolutely ridiculous. Whoever is best at the job gets the job. And if Brian Flores can't keep his fucking mouth shut about this kind of crap without bringing up racism over the Rooney Rule, he's probably causing all kinds of problems in the staffing rooms, in the locker rooms. For God's sake, one of the things you have to understand here is everybody thought the Rooney Rule was racist to begin with. I don't remember Brian Flores crying about this when it helped him and a lot of his buddies get interview jobs in the first place. It just blew up in his face the way we all thought it would. These coaches, they're getting an interview that the GM and the owner already know they don't want this guy. They've talked to someone else, but they have to go out and interview the black coach or the minority coach. And this is, that's the result we all expected. So, racism. Deshaun Watson news has not progressed at all. Your one-word thought.
Okay, I'm gonna go with no. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna use a hyphen. Career ending. I think this dude is done. I don't think anybody's going to be willing to take on this terrible PR, whatever it is, even anymore. I think the NFL's starting to move on without him, right? I mean, I know we're about to talk about the Texans here in a second, but the Texans are done. Miami's not going to take any consideration into trading for Watson, no matter what anybody thinks. If any team wants to go after him, once they admit that they were wrong by drafting the quarterback that they have right now, is the New York Giants. What do they have to lose? Another year of Saquon Barkley. Will he stay healthy? Daniel Jones still blows. And that's really all I can think of with the Giants. But I'm going to say that there's no chance that he is going to play in the NFL ever again because of this.
My one word is going to be a little harsher. Jail. This news has progressed so slow, and they're keeping so much of it under wraps without Watson being able to resolve it with his lawyers through paid settlements, that I'm starting to think at this point what's going on is an actual criminal investigation. And with the number of accounts and charges that would be filed and then brought up in a court of law, Watson could actually be looking at not just career ending for football, career ending for anything in the rest of his life. He could be disgraced by the end of this. Now, we just still don't have enough concrete information and evidence to make those kind of speculative calls. But the way things are going, this is not an Antonio Brown situation where it's just getting swept under the rug. Watson is not holding out anymore. He's basically not even being allowed to be traded or signed somewhere else because of this news. So don't get that part twisted. He didn't just voluntarily sit out the whole year for the Texans thinking the Texans are going to hook him up with a good contract or trade him out of the goodness of their hearts. He's in a situation now where he was showing up to work and sitting on the bench just because he had no other options. So it's going to be interesting seeing where that goes going forward. Maybe we'll see something by the end of this year. Lovie Smith to the Texans. What's your one more thought?
Cool. I've always loved Lovie Smith. When it comes to the Texans, why not? Talk about a team just in absolute shambles. That's going to be a basement dweller for a while. Cool.
My one word is going to be Flores. Brian Flores probably could have had this job if he had kept his mouth shut. The Texans, now he's dragging them into the lawsuit saying, well, the Texans just didn't hire me as a black minority coach because I brought up that lawsuit. Well, no shit, Sherlock. That's why you don't do things like that. So congratulations, you're going to be a fucking water boy from now on. Brady retiring. What's your one-word thought on this?
Sure. I'm going with sure. It was inevitable, like you were saying with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, it had to eventually end. This is a guy who is not only a first ballot Hall of Famer without even thinking twice. He's Tom Brady. He's, to me, the best athlete of all time. And as the kids use that acronym, asshole. No, I'm just kidding. GOAT. He's greatest of all time. So I'm not surprised by this one bit.
My one word? Sure. I'm right there with you. I actually doubt it. It's like he's already come out and said, never say never in a new interview. So I think we might see one more year of Brady. He's just doing this to appease Giselle and his kids for a little while. But he said he wanted to play till he was 45. I mean, he's got the chance and he's got the ability to do it. He made a great run this time. We saw him in prime Brady form at the end of that game, almost pull off a last-second victory as usual. So with that, that's it for our segment of one word. Let's talk about the Super Bowl odds.
Rams at Bengals.
All right, the spread on this one, 4 points. The Rams must win by more than 4 points to cover the spread. So you got your Rams at -4. You got your Bengals at +4. Team to win is the Rams. Rams are favored. Bet of $200 is going to win you $100 if the Rams win. A bet of $100 is going to net you $170 if the Bengals win. So we got the Rams at -200. We got the Bengals at +170. Over/under for this game, 48.5. I think that's kind of low for a Super Bowl. I would definitely bet the over at -110 money line. Not sure how you feel about that, Rob, but like me personally, we talked about maybe coming up with like a point ending for this game. I think that the Bengals are going to take this. After a little bit of simulation and stuff, I've seen the Bengals take almost about 60% of those simulated victories against the Rams. However, the Rams had a higher average score. And what I'm doing with that information is I'm going to say that the Bengals win 27-24.
All right, I like this. And I think your score is right around in line with what I believe it'll be. I'd be shocked if they hit 30, and I will be shocked if this is anywhere in the teens. Again, to play devil's advocate, I'll go Rams with this one. My 3 talking points are going to be Matt Stafford. He's always wanted to be here. I feel like he's going to play like he's there for his potentially one and only time. A lot of quarterbacks, like a Drew Brees and with only getting one Super Bowl, they're happy with that. I think even Aaron Rodgers, only has one, and of course the infamous Dan Marino has 0. So Stafford has his ability to essentially etch his name into a potential first ballot Hall of Fame with winning a ring. Who knows? Not saying he is, just saying. Second, Cam Akers. I just love the dude. I think he's a huge playmaker, and if this dude could get loose, I think they can control the clock like they're going to want to, like they did against Tampa in the first half of that game. And then I'm going to go defense. I think the Rams defense is just a little better. And with that suspect offensive line with Cincinnati, though it didn't show in Kansas City, I think the Rams defense is definitely better than Kansas City with Darnold and Von Miller, of course, going after Joe Burrow. But I'm not going to ever count Joe Burrow out ever again after this season. This guy is a Sherlock. I am going to take it just one step back. I am going to go with a score of 24-21. I'm going to take it just a notch back just a little bit. And I think the Rams are just going to be a little more riskier, not reckless, but I think like we saw again against Tampa, where they started chucking the ball late and clearly Tampa was playing for overtime. I think the Rams will just make that one play that's needed to get that last ending field goal, like all these other games have ended in. But I say the Rams win by a field goal, where you're taking Cincinnati by a field goal, correct?
Yeah, I'll be taking them by a field goal. So I'm going to take the over with the Bengals winning. Rob's going to take the under with the Rams winning.
I'll take the under.
You heard it here. So that was it for our Super Bowl weekend podcast. Once again, this is Ryan and Rob with Fantasy R&R. We will see you next time.